So this week on Ramblings, we're exploring kind of the ivory tower world and traps that academia falls into in not being useful, not being accessible, stuck over there in the clouds, no, actual practical purpose in life. This is meant to be a discussion and indictment of academia in general. Hopefully it's not just me and my life. Anyway, and I'm going to present several kind of traps I see in academia that we tend to fall into. And then hopefully maybe some ways out of them and or things to bear in mind for those academics to try and counter this. And would obviously very much appreciate other suggestions for ways to move forward or other traps that you see happening. So I think the first most obvious one that most of us have encountered at some point is the issue of jargon. Because yes, we have jargon for jargon. Jargon, specialized vocabulary, the existence of lexicons. See, this is ridiculous. I'm doing it. Okay, words, the terms that we use, the way we talk about things, the words that we say to mean things, okay? So instead of, words, I'm saying jargon and lexicon and things of this nature. Say words, for heaven's sakes, right? If you want someone to understand you. But academia definitely has this trap of jargon, of lexicons, of terminology, of phrases. And we'll see, I think, with most of these traps, they exist for a reason. They're traps for a reason. They seem useful. Terminologies definitely exist for a reason in academia and evolved for reasons. They help facilitate conversation about very specialized kinds of knowledge or circumstances. They can serve as shorthand. Right, so in the same way, you're texting, right, you have LOL, laugh out loud, because no one wants to type out laugh out loud every time, or try to communicate, ha 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 ha, I'm laughing somehow, in a text, right? So we've developed this shorthand that most people in the world now use and know. I don't know what the actual number is, most, whatever. Many people in my circles know LOL. When texting, of course, first came about, it was a very specialized language, right? The average adult had no idea what LOL meant, right? And was wondering what kind of bizarre language their children were speaking with this, LOL and BRB and, and these kind of acronyms. The same thing happens in academia. Of course, different disciplines have, special vocabularies and glossaries of words, that aren't used regularly in everyday English, but are helpful to point to specific things. Now, of course, in things like law, medicine, biology, we have a need for precision, right? The Latin terms that we use, some of them are unnecessary, okay? We could just say guilty. But in some texts, you really do need it's a very specific kind of guilt, right? Or a very specific kind of organism. And you don't want to say microbe X, right? You want to say exactly which kind of what little tiny particle of life or not life is doing this to someone to make them ill or whatever, right? In other sciences and the humanities, specific jargon, specific words can be used to convey really complicated theories in a word, right? So instead of 5 sentences to describe, the way a society interacts and moves and, deals with, questions of religion and food and blah, 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 right? You come up with particular phrases that point to those issues that people in the discipline know so that you can talk to each other easily. But there's this issue, of course, that then, you're signaling awareness of certain issues, you're addressing very particular details. That's great within the group, but of course it immediately begins to create divisions, and some people can't understand you. There's this issue of, do you hear what I hear? Right? Do you know what I'm saying? Can you even understand the words that I'm using? So the average person, if they were open an academic article or a textbook and try to read, they may find themselves not understanding or really knowing the meaning of every 5th word. That is incredibly disheartening and is unlikely to lead to people reading things. So academia needs to figure out how, jargon is useful and helpful, but perhaps we can use it in some situations and not others. Right? And it is possible to write accessibly. We don't need to, use all of these highfalutin terms for no good reason. When it's possible to substitute something that is more accessible and widely understood, do it!